Hi 804, 5, and 6. Thanks for clicking on the Edpuzzle. I'm just going to give you a quick kind of version of what the notes would look like if I was in class today. Shouldn't take more than 15 minutes. And then there's a choice stations activity, which also shouldn't take more than 15 or 20 minutes. And that's your expectation as you do both of them today. I am going to grade that you complete this Edpuzzle and that you complete the practice activity on Google Classroom. So for the notes, today we're talking about the converse of the Pythagorean theorem, and this is a vocabulary word on your vocabulary sheet, so you should take a moment and pause here and write down the definition of the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. So the converse of the Pythagorean theorem means like if you flip the Pythagorean theorem around, it's like kind of the flip of the if-then statement, then what is that saying? So the converse of the Pythagorean theorem says that if there's a triangle where the side lengths a, b, and c meet the requirement that a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then the angle opposite of c is a right angle and the triangle is a right triangle. So if you don't know whether a triangle is a right triangle, but you know all three side lengths, you can substitute in the side lengths into the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And if you get a true statement, then it's a right triangle. And if you don't get a true statement, then it's not a right triangle. So write that down, and then we'll look at some examples. Okay, so here we have an example. The numbers in the diagram below indicate the units of length of each side of the triangles. The side lengths and the angles in the diagram are not drawn to scale. So just because like this might look like a right angle doesn't mean it's necessarily a right angle. It could be like 89.9 degrees or 91 degrees, right? We don't know. It's not drawn to scale, so we can't be sure. So we're trying to figure out, is the triangle a right triangle? Show your work and answer in a complete sentence. Okay. I went away. I'll come back. I might not come back. You'll just have to there I am. Okay, so to do this problem, we're going to begin by writing down a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then we're going to substitute in the side lengths that we know. So one thing that we know is that the hypotenuse is always the longest side. So if this were a right triangle, the longest side, 15, would be C. And then between A and B, it doesn't matter. So we can make A9 and B12. So we substitute in the three side lengths into a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And then we just want to figure out what this is. 9 squared is 9 times 9. That's 81. 12 squared is 12 times 12, 144. And 15 squared is 225, 15 times 15. Okay, so then we add them up. What is 81 plus 144? That is 225. So we get 225 equals 225. That is true. Thus, that means this triangle is a right triangle. Okay, that's all it is. So since that's true, since a squared plus b squared equals c squared, it's a right triangle. Cool. Okay, moving on to the next one. Here is the triangle shown below a right triangle. Show your work and answer in a complete sentence. Again, just because this angle looks like it might not be a right angle, that doesn't mean it's necessarily not. This isn't drawn to scale, so we have to do the math. Okay, so here is my equation, and the longest side is 4.5. So if this were a right triangle, then 4.5 would be the hypotenuse. And then my legs, A and B, would be 3.5 and 4.2. Okay, so then I can just take these and multiply them out. 3.5 squared is 12.25. 4.2 squared is 17.64. And 4.5 squared is 20.25. Oh, sorry, these two squares should not be there anymore. Okay, and then we can try to add these together. If we do 12.25 plus 17.64, we're going to get 29.89 equals 20.25. That is false, not true. Thus, this triangle is not a right triangle. Okay, since a squared plus b squared doesn't equal c squared. Cool. All right, for the last one, I'm gonna let you try this. So here is the formula. You're gonna substitute in what you think A, B, and C are and see if you get a true equation, thus it's a right triangle, or a false equation, thus it's not a right triangle. Okay, give that a try. All right, so you should have gotten that this was a right triangle. This is true. We substitute in 170 for C because it's the longest side. So then the legs are 72 and 154. We get 72 squared plus 154 squared. That is 28,900, which is what 170 squared is. So we get a true equation, so it's a right triangle. Okay, so that's all it is. These do kind of look like right triangles, but again, you want to not just like trust your eye because it could be drawn not to scale. So when you're doing the practice today, make sure that you are actually doing the math to check. Okay, so for now, the rest of class, this was like your first 45 minutes of class. You get a grade for completing this. Thank you for getting here and doing it. And then the second half of class, there is an online workbook activity. It is labeled Friday Assignment Choice Stations, right? And this is labeled Friday Assignment Notes. So you're doing the Friday Assignment Choice Stations. It's 6 practice problems where you're just figuring out whether triangles are right triangles or not. And once you're done with that, you should do I ready, be good, and not make the sub mad at you. Okay? Be good, keep it up, keep working hard. Again, this is graded. If you have friends playing around doing nothing, tell them they need to do their work. And I'll be back on Monday. Thanks, everyone. Bye. One last thing I remembered, make sure that you turn in any of the assignments on Google Classroom that you did this week. So you should have 4 choice station activities, 1 for each day of the week, Monday through Thursday, iReady being one of them. So if you did a worksheet, make sure you have filled out the Google form for it. If you did the Desmos, make sure you've pressed turn in addition to these 2 assignments, which you should, of course, press turn in on as well. Okay, make sure you do that. That's how I'm grading classwork this week.